we had Brother Zohar who was talking to us about his bicycle adventure around the Gaza Strip in order to raise money for this very, very important organisation. And hopefully, inshallah, she'll be able to share with us some information about fundraising. And I know that there are some initiatives planned, hopefully, for the future once, inshallah, this pandemic is over. So hopefully she'll be joining us in just a second. Okay, right. Yes, please. So part of getting on board with Ramadan FM is all the shows are live, as you know, and we sort of give instructions to our guests. Assalamu alaikum. Sister
Assalamu
Zara.
alaikum. Hello, hi, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Good to see you and to have you on our show. Thanks for taking time out.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me and for inviting us.
No worries. So this was, sadly, I hadn't heard about your organisation until sort of last year when we had somebody come on the show and he was telling us about the bike ride around the Gaza Strip. And first for me was a bit of shock and horror, thinking, oh, you went to Gaza, you know, the place where it's quite dangerous to go and visit. But, you know, I've been corrected since.
Yeah.
But could you tell us about the organisation itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Medical Aid for Palestinians, but we're more commonly known as MAP, MAP for short. Our mission in general is to provide health and dignity for Palestinians living under occupation and as refugees. So that is quite broad. So that is Palestinians living under occupation in the occupied West Bank, but also we help them living as refugees in Gaza and in the refugee camps of Lebanon. So we cover many areas, so like women and children's health, rim reconstruction. We respond to emergencies, which is usually war and things like that. And we also do psychological help with mental health and things like that. And we also do, we have an advocacy and campaigns team. So we also do a lot of that as well to sort of, you know, get the conversation about Palestine and Palestinian rights going and advocating for that, be in the UK and abroad as well. So that's generally what we do. And I am the community and fundraising officer and challenge events fundraising officer. So I work in the fundraising department. We're the biggest department in MAP. And we put on fundraising events. We encourage people to do fundraising and things like that. We also have offices in all the places that we work. So we've got amazing teams, office in Gaza, office in Lebanon, and an office in the West Bank as well. And yeah, amazing colleagues out there as well and helping us do our work. So that's generally what we do and who we are.
That's fantastic. It's a big undertaking, and I hadn't realised how much political sort of pressure you have to kind of navigate through to get equipment. Is it right that you're the only sort of medical official body that can get into there to supply equipment?
I would have to double check if we're the only ones, but certainly I do know that other organisations do struggle to get equipment. Do you mean just in general, or are you specifically talking about Gaza?
Probably Gaza in general, because I know there are there are various issues. So sending goods over and getting them into Gaza are two completely different things.
Yeah. So what we're a registered charity in Israel as well. So we do have to coordinate the shipping of the equipment with the Israeli authorities. We have a very good relationship with the Israeli authorities, and we need to in order to do that. So usually where we can, for example, like medicines and disposables, we will try and procure them locally, either locally in the region or a bit further afield. And sometimes where we can, we will try and use, you know, local Palestinian companies and stuff to do that. With equipment that's a bit more complicated and a bit more complex, needed for things like surgeries, neurosurgery or limb reconstruction, we do have to procure them abroad, either in the UK or elsewhere. And then we have a fantastic team, like I said, in Gaza. Also, the UK team, the programs team especially, we have a wonderful colleague there called Samai, who does all the customs, the checks and stuff. does all like the invoicing, things like that. So everything has to be checked, everything has to be approved by the authorities, and then through that we coordinate the shipment. It goes usually via Israel into Tel Aviv, into the West Bank, and then through there into Gaza. So that's how we do it.
Okay, and how in terms of the struggles that you're having at the moment under the pandemic,
Yeah.
I've seen posts from, I mean, obviously now I know about MAP. I'm signed up to your email notifications as well, and I've seen notifications where literally medical supplies are at their least, and I've seen empty shelves. So has the situation changed? I mean, how's the pandemic affected all of this as well?
Unfortunately, it has. I think to begin with, it seemed like, especially with Gaza, with it being so closed off, we were hoping that it would hopefully not hit it as hard, but unfortunately, it has. I know currently we have a communications meeting every week with a lot of our colleagues in the field, and our colleagues in Gaza will give updates on what's going on. I know that currently Gaza's being put into zones. So like a red zone is, for example, really, really bad. So I know currently Gaza is pretty much red. But again, going back to like the amazing teams that we have, even though the procurement process and the shipping process might sometimes be a little bit, sometimes it does be a bit slow, but it is very bureaucratic. And for example, with like the COVID crisis, they were in dire need of oxygen generators, which our teams managed to procure and get into Gaza and able to help the people there in the ICU and things like that. They needed oxygen, and then obviously, like you were saying, on top of that, there is the ongoing struggle. There is the zero stock problem in Gaza, which means that what basically that means, are you saying by the empty shelves, is like very essential medicines from things like painkillers or cancer and stuff are usually on either a month's supply or even less. So that's what we mean by zero stock. So on top of that, we are constantly procuring medicines and fundraising for that. And for example, during Ramadan, if you were to donate to us and donate zakat, 100% of our zakat donations do go to the zero stock emergency in Gaza to help procure those medicines.
Okay, so how much are we talking about? What would I don't know, say £10 buy you?
Well, it's funny you say that. So the most recent thing that I've done fundraising for Ramadan is I've developed these e-gift cards that people can buy each other for Ramadan. So I've done it across 3 projects. It's zero stock. It's our mobile health clinic, which is a clinic that helps people like the Bedouin communities in Area C of the West Bank, who are very isolated communities who can't generally have access to healthcare, either because of because they're prohibited to, or they can't afford it, and things like access. So there's also that clinic, and then the third one is the malnutrition clinic in Gaza as well. So if you go on our website, say, which is map.org.uk/gift, it takes you to the Ramadan gift card, so you can donate to buy one and then send us a message of what you'd like in it, and then I usually will send it over. So for example, each one does come with its own shopping list, and it comes with a little case study, so whoever receives the card can see like the sort of thing that their donation does and who it goes to help. So for example, if I get one up now, with
what we've done is we've posted some of the links onto the comments section, so people can watch this video back and see those on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay, great. But you were saying about £10, for example, just like the shopping list I can see here. If you go to the malnutrition project in Gaza, £10 could treat a child with rickets for 1 month. So it includes things like vitamin A and D drops, magnesium supplements, and things like that. So that's probably the easiest way to see what that's about. So that's the most recent thing I've done for Ramadan, especially because I know that comes up a lot, and a lot of people want to know where their money could go and what they could do to help. And you get a really lovely case study with each one as well.
I mean, talking about malnutrition, it's a huge thing, isn't it? Because there was a study on childhood development in Palestine, and you know, the mothers, they're unable to receive the nutrition that they need
Yeah.
when they're pregnant, and children's growth rate has been affected. I mean,
Yeah.
what actually is going on? Is there any way that, like yourself, your organisation like yourselves, can sort of help these children, these mothers?
Yeah, absolutely. We have the most fantastic partner in Gaza, and we help fund their malnutrition clinic there. When you work at MAP and you're there for a certain amount of time past your probation period and stuff, the thing that they do for their staff is they do take them to Palestine and to Lebanon so we can see the projects ourselves. So we have a better understanding of them. So I think it was, goodness, I'm trying to get so would it have been this January, obviously, not, I think 2 years ago now, it would have been, which time flies. I actually was very lucky and I got to go to Palestine with MAP to see the projects. And one of the places we went was Gaza. And we went there to see the malnutrition project. And I think, there's many factors that come into it. One of them being poverty as well, when people are struggling to feed themselves, let alone their children. There was also quite interesting that we learned a lot about, I'm not entirely sure why, but a lot of people have celiac disease there. So they would need, like, the need for gluten-free flour is very, very high. And obviously with the education there, in the UK, for example, we're very, very lucky. You can just go to most cafes and get like a gluten-free sandwich or meal or something like that. Obviously, that's very different in Gaza. So, and the education's not there. So not a lot of people realize that that's what their child is suffering from. When, people are admitted into the malnutrition clinic, the amazing thing about it is it's not just about, treating that child. They also support their families, be it with psychological support. The mothers and the fathers sometimes come along too, will attend cooking classes on how to properly nourish their children, things like that. They'll be given food packages, gluten-free flour if that child is a celiac, and things like that. And it's just really, 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 it was really, really wonderful to see. And it really, going back to the original thing about saying what our statement is about the dignity of it all, you can really tell that it really gives the loyal people like confidence, and it like really encourages them and shows them how to look after themselves and their families by just giving them the right tools and the right education. And it is really wonderful. And I do remember attending a class. There was a doctor there called Imali, and she was teaching a room of about, I would say, about 30 women. I'd teach them about nutrition and nutritional foods and things like that. And I asked a very similar question to you. I said, like, why is it so bad here? And she said to this room of women, put your hands up if your husband is working currently, is in a regular job, earning regular money. And out of this room of 30 odd women, not a single woman put her hand up. So there's really, really many factors going on, but unfortunately, poverty is one of them, because I think Gaza actually has the highest rate in the world of unemployment. So we do a lot, and that is actually one of my I have a way things say one of my favorite projects, because it's lovely and you see the child improve so quickly, and it's just not just about quality of life, but also about the mental health and how much it just really just changes the whole family's lives. So it's a really, really beautiful and important project. So that's what that you're saying about malnutrition in Gaza. So that's what we do.
I mean, you sound very emotional. You've obviously seen it frontline. It's emotional hearing it, because it's one of those places that are very difficult, notoriously, to reach.
Yeah.
So an organisation as yours, it's so good to hear that this work is going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
For you personally, as fundraising sort of manager, what are your goals for the next sort of year, 12, 18 months?
Well, firstly, I'm not a manager. I'm an officer, but I work very closely with the manager and with the entire fundraising team. And so I think our our goals for the next year, I think, well, unfortunately, COVID has hit charities in general, not just us. So, especially with my line of fundraising, which, you know, community and challenge, which tends to be about bringing people together and, you know, supporting the charity in a sort of like, well, community environment, that's taken a real hit. So I think our goal in the fundraising department, especially for Mind as well, is to like try and get people together again to fundraise. We do have some challenge events coming up. For example, in October, we're doing a Together for Gaza ride. If any of the listeners like cycling, we're doing a London to Whitstable ride. And then every year, unfortunately, they didn't happen because of COVID. Every year we do two big international events in the West Bank. Cycle Palestine, where you cycle around the West Bank for 6 days, and Trek Palestine, where you trek around the West Bank for 6 days. So I think certainly from my end, our goal is to get people together again, to get people fundraising and to fundraise for these projects. We are like signing up new projects, constantly trying to procure new partners and things like that. So I think, I mean, it sounds silly, but the general aim is just to raise more money and help as many people as we can. But if people are interested, if you go to the website, map.org.uk, go under Get Involved, and then Ways to Give. There's all different sorts of ways to give on there. And then Challenge Events is the tab you're looking for if you're interested in Cycle Palestine, Trek Palestine, or the Together for Gaza bike ride I just mentioned.
Well, there's a lot of cyclists out there, especially on Ramadan FM. We've got a show called Banter and Bikes, I think it is. So they're dedicated to riding. Yeah, so the guys will be listening, I'm sure. And with regards to treks, I've done a couple of treks myself. So,
oh, really? Fantastic.
Yeah. I'm sure a couple of my colleagues.
I went on one international event and it was so fantastic. You know, we work with a local partner there called Siraj, who are incredible. And then we take about 30 people for each trip. And, you know, we meet local Palestinians. They have food with local Palestinian families. There is also the chance to see some of our projects out there and see what we do. And it's just really, you know, I'm a big advocate for showing another side to Palestine and the Palestinian people. You know, it's not just about, you know, war and displacement and things like that. It's a beautiful, rich culture with amazing people. And so you know, a big part of those trips as well is really showing that.
So tell me more about this trek then. How bad is it?
Oh, you do have to train. I think it's we try and cover. It's a long. It's 6 days the entire trip, but I think. Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think the actual trekking is maybe about 5 days, and we try and cover like 100 kilometers. It is possibly not the greatest distance if you're like a real avid trekker, but what really gets you is the hills and the heat. We try and go, like, for example, for this year, we're trying our hardest to get them done in September and October, but we'll have to see. But so we try and go time of the year where it's as cool as possible, but those hills are, Palestine's a hilly place. When I went there for Cycle Palestine, you do 1 day of trekking, and I had about, I think, 3 doctors fanning me at one point because I just
my gosh, really?
But you know, I was very bad and I did no training, so please do not follow my example. But you know, it is a challenge. They are a challenge event. They're meant to be challenging, but so worthwhile and amazing.
Do you stop off at certain points of interest?
Yeah, absolutely. Well? Yeah, we'll stop. You stop off every day. There's tours every day and things like that. Different sites. So you go to places like Jenin, Nablus, where do we go? Jericho, which I absolutely adore. We go to the Dead Sea, and at the very end of the trip, we finish off in Jerusalem. And there's always at the last day, 1 day in Jerusalem where you can just go explore the old city. We do also organize a tour of the old city as well if you're interested, but many people just tend to do their own things. Amazing meals. I would say to any of the listeners who do sign up, they will feed you until you can no longer walk or cycle. So please make sure that you take care of the food. But I mean, it's just the most incredible experience, and we're very excited. inshallah, if everything goes well, to get those up and running again, because they really are wonderful, wonderful life-changing experiences.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I
So
mean,
you should definitely join us.
yeah, I know of one person who's going to try and talk me into this. People dare me to do stuff and then I end up doing it. We trekked up Ben Nevis a couple of years ago,
Oh wow, okay.
and
Good.
so
Then
yeah.
your experience, it'll be a walk in the park for you then. It'll be absolutely.
We'll talk after this, I think, but it's definitely a worthy cause. And one of the things that I didn't appreciate, for me growing up, you always see this negative stuff, as you say, on the
Yeah.
media, and you don't see the other side.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, oh my God, I'd really like to go, but it's so dangerous. And I can imagine, standing there dodging bullets. But I
Yeah.
mean, is that the reality? I mean, are the local authorities that bad to restrict you from moving around?
So I think, I mean, it's definitely not there going dodging bullets. We would, obviously never want to put any of our supporters in any sort of harm's way. Obviously, as Palestine, it is a volatile place. There is risk of war and things like that. But the most important thing we know is that we do work with Siraj, the local tour operator, and they are absolutely incredible. If anything's happening on the ground, Siraj will know about it. For example, I think a few years ago we did Trek, and the very first day we started off in Nablus, and they had to completely change the route because something happened in Nablus. I think a local Palestinian was shot. So it was just Nablus was in complete lockdown, and Siraj changed the route and got us new hotels within less than 12 hours. So, the safety of our participants is always of the utmost priority. But, sometimes because we fly to Tel Aviv and go via Israel, it is sometimes a bit of a long trip because some people are held back at the airport because of their name, or sometimes because of the way they look or things like that. So if they are seen as any sort of threat by the Israeli authorities there, but I always get held back every time I go and things like that, and it's usually just a very long waiting game. Just ask you a few questions, and because, like I said before, we are a registered charity within Israel, they know what it is we do. So just explain, I'm here with Medical Aid Palestinians. There's always a member of staff that stays back with you anyway. Everyone has a letter saying, the official letter from that saying who we are, what we do, what they're doing there, and then you get through, and you can start the challenge event. But I mean, it's definitely. I know a lot of people are scared to go, but I would really encourage them not to be. It's a wonderful place. The people are possibly the friendliest on earth. I mean, I might be biased saying that, but we would never do these events if we thought we would be putting people in any sort of danger. So,
they need people to go as well, don't they? They need to see the outside world.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah, absolutely. And it's good for the economy and stuff like that, and just to meet. And they absolutely love having guests. I mean, I think within Muslim culture as a whole, it's like really important to have guests and to treat your guests, but especially in Palestinian culture as well, it's just it's the world, and especially with the bike rides and stuff, and we go through the local villages, you always have the little kids running after you, and they're always giving us dates and things like that. I mean, they are so wonderful and so friendly, and we always get people. We've had some people do the bike ride 4 times. So it's definitely, I think there's danger traveling anywhere in the world. But it's definitely not. We're definitely not. Dodging bullets is not part of your training.
It's great to hear. Great to hear, mashallah. I'm so happy. We've got just over a minute until the show comes to an end and the advert break. Is there anything else you want to tell us, Zara?
Just that please support us. Please support Palestine. I know you've put up what our website is and things like that. And if you do have any questions, you can email. It comes to me directly. It's fundraising@map.org.uk. But like I said, you can just go to the website and go on to ways to give and get involved and find out loads there. But It's a wonderful charity. There's something there for everyone, especially in terms of fundraising, if that's what you're looking to do. And and just thank you so much for your support. Any of the listeners that do know us and have supported us in the past, thank you so much. And just Ramadan Mubarak, really, and getting ready for those last 10 nights. And and I hope everyone has the most wonderful Eid. And thank you.
Yeah, last 10 nights, definitely. Big push now. But thank you so much, Zara, for coming on. And again, Ramadan Mubarak to you, and hope you have a wonderful Eid as well. And let's stay in touch and see what we can do, inshallah.
Absolutely. We'll get you on track, inshallah.
Inshallah, we'll see. Okay, take care.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Radio Ramadan 87.9 FM, keeping you company throughout the